Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be taking a look at Anna. She is just such a good champion that I did not fully appreciate early on in the game. I looked at her kit and I thought it looked solid, but I slept on her a little bit longer than I should have. She could be one of the first champs that you bring up. She is so ridiculously good everywhere in the game. You can take her into every arena mode, you can take her through the campaign, you can take her into any dungeon where Affinity's not working against her. She did decent numbers for me in Guild Boss for a little bit. She's great in Void Tower and Bounty Hunts. Literally everywhere in the game she shines. She is such a fantastic champion and she's very easy to build. She doesn't need a lot to be very, very effective. So let's talk about her stats and skills, and then we'll talk about some gear, and then I'll show you some examples of what she looks like in action later in the video. We have B tier stats across the board, which for an elite is pretty solid. Generally, it's a few Bs and a bunch of Cs. But here we've got Bs across the board. There's a couple of elites that sneak in an A here and there, but we've got Bs across the board. So it's pretty easy to scale all of her stats up if you would like to. I've decided to build her one way, but she's also an interesting champion that there's a lot of different ways that you could go about building her. So let's talk about her skills real quick. On her trait, it's called Parry. When she's ascended, 10% bonus damage, 10% of her max health as bonus damage, I should say. Very solid. This adds up. This is really, really nice. It even makes her A1 seem like it does a lot of damage because the higher you get her HP, the more bonus damage you do. And again, you're also making her tankier as you shoot her HP up. So she's serving multiple purposes here. She's an interesting combination of a champ that can be kind of a tank as well as a damage dealer. So it has some similarities to Rog, honestly. You can kind of approach her in a similar way. She is a HP-based champ that does a lot of bonus damage based on her HP. So, very cool trait. On our A1, we have a 20% chance to land a stun for one turn. Fairly clutch, great when it lands. Not something you could count on necessarily at 20%, but it's nice to have it, and when she does land it, it's huge, right? You take away a whole turn from an enemy, so very, very nice on the A1. And again, with her trait applying to every skill with no cooldowns, every time you throw this out, it's a chunk of damage. She does pretty good damage with it, so very nice. On the A2, on a 3-turn cooldown, we have a speed down and an attack down. Again, fantastic. This is huge. Getting this up on dungeon bosses, getting this up on enemies in arena, getting this up on bounty hunt bosses. Anybody you put this up on, this is huge because these are two pretty important stats. So a speed down potentially lets some of your slower allies steal a turn from an enemy. Attack down just reduces the damage that you're taking. She does them both in one skill, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. So she's going to keep it up pretty regularly, right? Very solid. She is a big part of why I am having the success I'm having in Queen of Tides. The run that I'll show you later in the video is a Queen of Tides 12 run. So she's on the team, and she's very, in large part, responsible for us getting our first Queen 12 clear. And now the little bit of farming that we're able to do in there, again, she is contributing very heavily to, because we'll talk about it a little bit. Maybe I'll come in and voice over the run a little bit and talk a little bit about her role there. But this is a very nice skill. On the ultimate, 200% damage to an enemy with a 75% chance to apply taunt for 2 turns, and then grants herself invincible for 1 turn. And this stays up for the entire turn. Sometimes debuffs go away when they get used, and then sometimes they're there for the turn. This specifies the turn. That means if all the enemies can go after her, she's invincible for the whole time for that turn. It's really, really nice. It has kept her alive in some fights when she's got this much HP left, and allows my healer to get her back in the fight. That 2-turn taunt is also disgusting to lock someone down. Again, you can lock down the minions in Queen of Tide with the taunts. You can lock down enemies in arena. This is huge. This has been great for me and with the little bit of live arena that I've played, being able to take away someone's star for 2 turns is huge. It is a 75% chance to land, so it's not a guarantee, but more often than not, she's gonna land it, right? Very rarely does she let me down with this one. It's very nice. And again, especially in Bounty Hunt where you can taunt the boss, it's huge, right? So very, very nice skill. And you see basically every turn she takes, on top of having something impactful going on with every skill, we've got a potential crowd control on the A1, speed down, attack down on the A2, 2-turn taunt on the A3. Don't forget about the trait that's coming in behind everything and adding bonus damage to everything she does based on how high you can get her HP. She's just such a cool champion. She's so good. She is part of the team that I'm currently running through the Mythic campaign right now. We had hit a wall at 8-8, and it had been a while, so now we're running through. She's on the team that is now up to 10-7 as of recording this video, and they've autoed all the way through. And again, she's a huge part of that team. I don't know that we'd be doing it if we didn't have Anna on the team. So absolutely killer champ. Well worth any resources you want to put into her, especially earlier in the game as you're trying to progress. She's going to help you immensely in Queen of Tides. She is so good in Queen of Tides for a newer player trying to get a team sorted. And we'll probably be using her in Queen of Tides for a long time, because on this account we're only using the elites. So you'll see I've only got elites built. I've got a series going with this account. If you are unfamiliar with it, I'll card to it up there if you want to check it out. But we started an account. It's 100% free to play, elites only. We're only allowed to use elites, and she is just such a huge part of this account. As far as gear goes, if you are earlier in the game, Terra sets are going to be your best friend. Terra and Raptor sets, which you'll see is what we're rocking right now, and HP percentage across the board. Alternatively, if you have full Terra, you can try a focus amulet. If you don't have a focus amulet for Terra, I would recommend probably squeezing in a Raptor set and getting HP percentage on the amulet as well. But basically what we want to do is shoot her HP up as high as we can get it, and we want her to have enough focus to land her debuffs. So far mine's at plus 41%. That's been enough for me. She very rarely doesn't land her debuffs, right? Sometimes the taunt won't proc on the A3 and we won't land it, but if a debuff procs, so far we have enough. We will eventually probably get later in the game where we'll need a little bit more as we start to, play in higher level arena and stuff like that. We'll want to change it up. But basically what you're focusing on earlier and as you're transitioning into the mid game even, you just want to get her HP as absolutely high as you can get it and then get some focus on her. If you wanted to play around with the crit stats, you could. I haven't yet, so I don't know how much a difference it makes on her damage output. I don't want to sacrifice any of her HP for the way that we're using her right now. As I get a little bit later in the game, I'll probably try a few different things with her, because again, she's kind of an interesting hybrid of a tank, but one that can also do some damage. So we may play around with some, maybe we'll play around with some precision and resistance and make her harder to hit and land debuffs on, and just let her be more of a nuisance that way. Alternatively, we could think about trying out crit stats and seeing what kind of damage. These are all things that we'll do later in the game, but I think most of you that are here are probably earlier or early mid game. So just worry about Terra and Raptor sets, worry about getting her HP and focus up. HP is by far the priority here, and she will do some amazing things for you. So now what we'll do, we'll hop over and take a look at her. I think I've got some footage of her in arena playing around a little bit, and then we'll take a look at a queen run, and you'll get the idea, right? I think from arena, you'll see her taunting capabilities and all of those things, and then in queen, you'll see how she contributes to that run, and you can kind of apply it to the way she would behave in Void Tower, Bounty Hunt, wherever it is you might want to take her, but which is literally anywhere in the game, and she's going to be good. So that's it. If this was helpful for you, a like and subscribe would be dope. If you want to see what I'm doing, again, I carded to the series where we use the elites only account. If you want to check that out as well, I do hope it was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Hope you enjoyed the footage. Hope this was helpful for you, and we'll see you next time. Okay, so some things to keep an eye on in this run as far as Anna's contribution goes is, of course, the things that we're a little bit more obviously aware of. She's going to be taunting the minion, putting speed down and attack down on the minion, and then when the minion goes down, she'll be doing that as well to the boss. But this right here, this is important too. She is a great target for this stifling aqua cage that the queen does, and I have done a video where I break down the mechanics of this dungeon and talk about how to put together a team. I'll cart to that in the upper left now as well. But what she's doing here, she's the best option for this on the team because we need Radira's heals, right? It could be Rog, but I like to not have it be Rog so that he can counterattack, and then Valuk, we need it to not be him because we need him to put up poisons with his A1. So what that skill does is targets whoever has the highest attack. Our Anna happens to have the highest attack on the team because everyone else is very HP based. We didn't focus any attack on Anna, to be clear. If you can just find a little bit in the substats, it's something to keep an eye on if you're putting together a team for Queen specifically, because of the four here, she is the best candidate for it. One, she is equipped to take the damage, right? She can handle being stunned and taking that extra damage. But also because the other members on the team, all of their turns are very important. And even though she is catching that stun and getting locked down for 2 turns occasionally, she's still able to do the things that we need her to do, right? She's still going to do the bonus damage every time she attacks. She's still going to get opportunities to throw up the attack down and the speed down. And she'll use her ult on the boss, and you obviously can't taunt the boss, but the damage is nice too. So she fits into this team very well, and I've tried several different combinations of the champs that I have right now with the gear that I have. This is the one that can do Queen 12, and it's, again, I think in large part because of Anna. If we had anyone else here, we would struggle, right? Like Charles is fantastic, and he could taunt that minion for us for a while, but when that minion goes down, Charles isn't doing a ton for us, right? Whereas Anna still has important debuffs and things like that. So she's a fantastic member of this team. So I just thought I would talk a little bit about that while it's happening, so you understood why I'm saying she's so important in here, even though she's the one catching that stun. It's kind of by design. So that's it. I'll let you finish out the run, and I'll see you later.